Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about different features Salesforce is planning to release in 2026. So without wasting much time, let's get into it. The first good thing is Salesforce has introduced history tracking for user object. Now you can actually track who has changed what field on a user object. To do that, you have to go to user management settings under setup. Under the setting, you will see a toggle button called enable user field history tracking. So make sure you enable it. I've enabled it for my org, but when you spin a new org which has Windows 6 enable, it will be disabled for that org. So you have to go into the settings and enable it. Also, if you see it's beta, it's not generally available. So make sure you make your purchase decision accordingly. The second good thing is regarding the field history tracking. Salesforce has given one clean UI where you can actually see all the fields and all the objects which have history tracking on. Over here, you'll also see like how many objects has trackable field, how many fields you can track per object, how many percentage of total trackable field I'm using right now in my org. So a pretty clean UI, I would say. And under object tab, you'll see each object has been mentioned as one accordion or categorized into one accordion. And in this accordion, once you expand it, you'll see all the fields has been categorized into different categories. And these are like confidential, internal, public, classified. When you create a new field, if you can remember, there is a drop down which says data classification. Under that classification, you actually define whether it's the PI information or not and all those details. From there, Salesforce actually derive whether this field is confidential or public or internal or non-classified. One good thing about this feature is you can actually enable history tracking for different object and for different field under one transaction. What that means is, for example, you want to enable history tracking on phone field of account object and you want to enable a field on asset object, let's say root asset, you can do in one single transaction. Previously, user has to go to each object under the object manager and then enable it in a separate window. But now you can actually enable this history tracking under one clean and straight transaction. So once I check this checkbox and click save changes, it will automatically start tracking those fields. And now once I enable this show only track object, you will see a button over here which says view track fields. It's basically a new UI again where you can see how many fields are being tracked per object. Like for account, there are like 5 fields that are being tracked. For appointment, there is 1, asset 3, and so on. Now the next topic is regarding flow. Salesforce has introduced very good new features in flows. Let's go to a screen flow which I have created before demo. So let's open this one. Screen flow which has actually a decision element. It's been there since long, but now what has been changed here is once you create this element under flow, under decision logic, you will see two options. One is manually set conditions, other is let AI determine it. What does that mean is if you have proper licenses enabled in your org, you can actually write some instructions and Salesforce will automatically derive or create outcomes over here. So do need to actually create outcome manually one by one. Just give the instructions and Salesforce will create all the outcomes for you. One other good thing is which Salesforce introduced on screen flow is debug. So once you click this debug and click run, we'll actually see the two tabs over here. One is flow canvas, other is screen. Under screen, you will actually your screen flow getting executed, and then flow canvas nothing but your flow. On left hand side, you will see the different debug steps. And now if I click this drop down and click this view on canvas, it automatically highlight that particular step from where this debug has been generated. It also has a gear icon over here. You can actually select all this configuration enabled by Salesforce, API name, governor limit consumptions, all those things. It becomes handy for a user to debug it into more transactional way, like how many queries has been executed and so on. You can also copy this debug logs and then basically analyze in your notepad or VS Code accordingly. One of the small UI upgrade I would say, it also has given a new expandable or changing the height and the width of this menu option over here. So it's a small UI upgrade I would say. That's it for screen flow. And one good thing which is not enabled in record in a screen flow and it's there in record trigger flow is the comparison. You can actually now compare two different versions of a flow in one single screen. Earlier you actually have to go to different tabs and open the flows version in different tabs and then compare it. But not only do you have to do that, you actually go into your comparison screen. How you can do it? You just go here Click this drop down. So let me go to record trigger flow. Now you see this compare versions over here. So once you click this compare version, you will see version 1 and version 2. After clicking in the compare versions, you'll see how many new elements have been added, what has been changed, all those things over here. One other thing which has been introduced regarding the data table element in Salesforce, on the screen, when you create a new element called data table, you can actually now select a apex defined variable as a source collection, which was not there in previous release, and now you can actually use a wrapper class. So I've created a wrapper class for this demo. You can actually create a wrapper class and you can use this wrapper class in a collection variable. Now what's the benefit? You don't have to create a separate object for data table to show those details. You can actually use that apex defined variables and then start using those attributes which you have defined under your wrapper class into this data table. But we have to make sure once you define this source collection and under rows, make sure you define unique identifier so that Salesforce data table can actually identify each row uniquely by this particular attribute. It is similar to the key field attribute on LWC data table component. So yeah, it's pretty much straightforward right now. It expands the use case of data table more. That's it for Windows 6 release. For admins and flow changes, we will be posting new videos about Windows 6 in dev field as well. So stay tuned. Thank you.